I'm still with my guest, Mashego. He's the energy coordinator for NUM. That is the National Union of Mine Workers. They've got a lot of members at Eskom, and you probably are very concerned that retrenchments are looming for you, are on the way, right? How many members do you have at Eskom, or how many people do you think are likely to be retrenched, rather? I think the number mentioned is about 17,000.
We've got almost 18,000 members in
18,000.
18,000
Yeah.
in Eskom, and the proposed unbundling is not coming with anything good for our members. It's coming with retrenchments. It might not happen now before election. It might really happen after elections. What Eskom wants to do, and government, we don't think it's a solution. There are problems in Eskom, problems of primary energy that needs to be addressed. There are problems of maintenance of the plant that need to be addressed. Those problems must be put on the table. We sit together and resolve them. But without resolving those problems and rush to unbundling, it's not helping. Because what we are told, I was in Nedlek on Tuesday, what government presented is that they will want to engage the unions on how do we reduce the cost of labor and how do we reduce the numbers. They want, and immediately they say that that is purely retrenchment. And we will not support government and Eskom when it goes into that particular direction, because unbundling in the picture that they've painted to us will be more expensive. You will then have 4 boards, you will have 4 CEOs and 4 CFOs, and those come at a cost.
But let me pause you right there and ask, how did Eskom become so bloated when it comes to the employees, right? 10 years ago, we're told they employed only around 30,000 people.
Yes.
And now the number has jumped to 47,000. I mean, what was the additional work that these employees had to do at Eskom, because the generation remained at the same level over that period of time? So somewhere something went wrong in terms of the employment practices at Eskom, don't you think?
In 2010, the Eskom board, by then led by CEO Brent Dames, restructured the business. And that restructuring increased divisions of Eskom to 12 divisions. And that 12 divisions came with new senior management positions. For instance, at the time, we had about 80 senior managers.
80, right?
80.
Yeah.
And we ended up, as of last year, with 595.
Wow. Yeah.
And they had about 6 executives, directors. We ended up with 26. So that structure of increasing the division created the issue that we are talking about. So, and then it created a number of departments that supported that 12 divisions.
Yeah.
And that increased numbers of workers, and workers were moved all over the country to come into this new, to populate this new structure. We believe that was the structure that created so many people into the organization. But however, we don't think it was wrong. As we speak of now, we have 6,200,000 customers. And we believe that those numbers were serving the customers that were there. It is unfortunate that elements of corruption here and there cropped in, and then they destabilized the structure. But we view the structure as a problem. Our position now is that that structure must be reduced. We must go back to where we had 4 divisions only, which is generation, transmission, and distribution, and the support structures only. We believe if we can go back there, we can reduce costs, but we know that it might affect certain workers. But we don't want to go into a process of retrenchment. We don't think that will be a right way of dealing with Eskom problems.
Now, the other question is that all the issues that are now coming out at the State Capture Commission NUM, as an important and active stakeholder within Eskom affairs, should have known that there were problems within Eskom and did not say anything. To what extent did you know that there was something going on within Eskom that needed to be addressed or stopped at a particular time, and you did not address it?
As NUM, we raised our concerns when those things came. When the Tegeta issue came through the Highveld region, which is predominantly our coal region, raised concerns. It is unfortunate that they were not taken serious. We went into the board. We were not given answers. The board only told us that those things are in court. Let us allow the court process to continue. However, I must say, I don't think we played an important role, especially in being involved in the procurement processes. We were a little bit slow when it comes to our participation in procurement processes. I believe we could have done better. I believe that we could have saved Eskom a lot of money if we participated in those processes. We allowed them to remain in the hands of managers, unknowing that those managers are in a plan of promoting corruption.
You mentioned Tegeta specifically. Why? What was wrong? What did you think was wrong with that at that time?
For instance, Tegeta didn't go into tender process. It was an agreement that was saying given to a particular company under the pretext of that it is transformation. Two is that the coal at optimum was not quality coal. I went there myself and I have observed it. It was a mere slurry that was driven into the boilers of Hendrina Power Station. It has destroyed that plant as we speak. That is why some people are arguing very strongly that the closure of Hendrina Power Station of the 3 units now is basically because of that slurry that was taken into those.
So you would share that view? Would you agree with them, when they say that?
Yes, we agree with them, because the plant kept breaking all the time, and when the plant broke, there is a problem basically with the coal. So that coal was problematic, and the plant could not run effectively but
the former CEO, the engineer, who also was the chief engineer of Eskom, Mr. Matsela Koko, denies that there was a problem with the coal.
No, I don't know why he denies that, but there was a problem with the coal. But let me talk about Matsela Koko and Brian Molefe. You know, under their leadership, workers were very happy. Workers were happy because their management style was that one of listening to people, taking their people along. But the current board doesn't do that. That board was listening to people, taking people along. That when Brian Molefe was dismissed and when he came back, workers at Megawatt celebrated his return, although it involves issues of corruption. As a union, we will not want to talk about how corrupt people are, especially in the public media. We are a respectful union. We meet with management when it is needed, and we raise these issues. I have prepared a dossier of the corrupt activities that are still continuing in Eskom as we speak, and that dossier will be handed over to the chairperson of Eskom, Jabu Mabuza, and to the president, where we show exactly that whatever you are trying to do will not help until these and these things are stopped. So the dossier is available, and when it is ready for the public, we will inform you, and we will like to come to the studio and present that dossier to yourselves so that you speak to the public about it.
Can you comment on the independent power producers, please, for me? Because there's a confusing message coming from the unions. It appears you are opposed to renewable energy, and there are claims that it is costing the country a lot of money. Do you go along with that, or do you think that the renewable energy is an important part of the energy mix that we're talking about? And the argument is that it's actually cheaper to go that route than to continue fixing some of the plants that we're talking about. Of course, improve the base load, but over time, introduce the IPPs.
There are those who are prophets of IPPs, those who are running with these big funders, who want to co-opt the NUM and other unions into being provocateurs of IPPs. And we reject that. Then when they see that we reject, they go into another mode to say we are against renewable energy. That is not true. We are not against renewable energy. We think that the issue of renewable energy will stop. Renewable energy need to come in the generation space of Eskom. We've got no problem about that. But what we are arguing is that when you do that, you must come with a just transition that address the problems that will emerge, and that just transition must be funded. 3 power stations, 3 units at Hendrina have been closed. When we were at Nedlek, there was no preparation on what will happen to the people, the workers, and the community around Hendrina.
But here's the problem, as we conclude the interview. Here's the problem that the unions are facing and Eskom is facing. It's got to service the debt, right? It's too huge, it's too high. The country cannot afford it, and the tariffs that were announced will not necessarily help. The municipalities are not paying, and residents are not paying for electricity consumption in some areas. So how do you find the balance? And of course, Eskom cannot afford to default on those loans. So where do you think the savings should come from?
The corruption in the country is well documented. We know where the money went. We must just go and get that money back, bring the money back. The people of Soweto are owing 17 billion.
Yeah.
But we know the history of Soweto during the time of the Soweto Crisis Committee that negotiated the issue of electricity at the time. So the municipality should find a way of collecting money from residents, all municipalities. Free State is the highest municipality that is owing. We are calling of our own people, who some of them are our members. Our members are conflicted because they are Eskom workers and at the same time they are customers of the product that they produce. So we are calling upon them every time we meet that we should be responsible residents. We must start paying for what we consume, especially if we are getting good and quality service and we're getting electricity at an affordable price. We will accept that. That is why we are against unbundling and privatization.
Paris Mashego, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you, too. Sure.
And that's all we had for you. Thank you for joining the Modise Network. Be sure to tune in again next week. And from us, enjoy the rest of your day.